Bend it now. Bend it now. It's peaked. Yeah, girl. Yeah. One of the reasons we teach psychokinesis using spoons, because we can have a easy, non-pressured relationship with the spoon itself in terms of its willingness to work with us, seeing it as a moldy and flexible and malleable, working together. You did it. Good girl. Harmonized within the group energy because everybody's synced up together in a way that there isn't any resistance around moving that energy. So
here goes this one.
Fire, Megan. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special crossover episode of Ultra Minds podcast with me, JK Ultra, and with Megan Solar Glow Meditations, who is just incredible. Everything that we've done together has been so good and has gotten such amazing feedback. And today we're doing something super, super special, which we have a guest here who I met at PSI Games, and she was teaching everybody how to do something that I've been curious about for a long time, that Megan has been curious about. And I think it was divine that I didn't get to have the opportunity to do it with you in person, because it was meant to happen in this way. So Kimla is a Reiki Grand Master and also trains people in how to work with non-physical energies, AKA one of those things is spoon bending and telekinesis. So hello, Kimla. Welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited to do this specifically with the two of you. So
I'm so excited for this. And Megan, thank you for doing this, because before we started filming, what I said is also Megan is the perfect person to do this, because dowsing rods is working with kind of moving physical objects using your heart energy and all of these things. So, and also Megan's such a believer. So
thank you.
Anything that you guys want to add or say about this before we kind of let Kimla guide us through the process of this?
I will just add really quick. Well, thank you for letting me crash as well. But I have tried to bend spoons on my own. I've sat and meditated with them for up to an hour and a half at a time. I've not been able to get them to move. So I am so excited for this to happen, because I know Kimla's going to guide us and it's going to be great. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to touch in on what is it that we're doing. There's sort of the requirement really of our minds that we're working with. And when I say mind, I come out of the Tibetan tradition, and there's one word for both mind and heart. So when I use the word mind, I'm really talking about this conjoined idea of mind and heart. And the heart is this powerful, it's called the heart key, in Reiki. And it connects us to the earth key, which is our lower chakras, sort of like the lower chakras in a regional sense, right? Like this is the North American areas down there at the lower chakras. And then we have, the Asian region in our heaven key, which is our higher chakras. So there's these three regions really that we can think about our energy being systematized or in relation to one another. We can have those 7 chakras, which are individuated. There's lots of different forms to talk about subtle energy, but one of the things that we do necessarily need to land on is how's this working? It's just our analytical mind wants to know, how does this work? And that's the curiosity piece that when I was at the PSI Games teaching the kids, they actually don't need. They they don't need that at all. And I think that's why they were so incredibly successful from the get-go. So Jenn, I don't know if you remember, but like that day, I taught them on Saturday, I think it was, and it was Saturday in the afternoon. And the kids were doing things that I have never seen before. Once we got past the more basic things like bending how to bend the spoon, how to work with the energy, they were incredibly sweet too, because if one child didn't have the energy moving for them, all the kids came around and sent their energy into the spoon or the fork for that child, right? So we had this sort of group energy that we drew from, and then they were doing it and amazed that they could do it. And then we had another really talented person in there teaching the kids magnetism. So this is another PK technique of magnetizing objects. And I had done it first for myself just this past year, and was taught by David Tran, who was one of the winners at the PSI Games at one of the PSI Games intensives. And the kids then in this year at the PSI Games in the room went from bending spoons, and they started magnetizing what would be our analytical mind would think about as magnetic objects like coins, metal objects. And they started to introduce ideas of magnetizing plastic. So they had these plastic toys they were playing with. And so they were sticking those to the wall. And then they were sticking the forks on the wall that they had bent, right? So we were taking it next level in the kids' room. And I swear to you, I thought, oh my God, I think these kids are going to levitate out of here. And we're all just going to like go onto the main stage, together. But it was after the kids started magnetizing the bigger objects, the forks, that those forks could then the collective that was at the PSI Games, it was only after that you started to see people sticking forks to the wall. And this is the way subtle energy moves, right? We have this idea and concept and a belief system that bounds us to that belief system. And while I think all of us believe that our hearts are open, they're always opening. Our mind heart is always opening. So there is, at least in this physical bardo, I'll call it, it's the state of consciousness we're in right now. We're going to drop into more of the meditative bardo to do this work. And the bardo is just an intermediary state of consciousness that word goes with the Tibetan system. So with the kids, they dropped into that meditative bardo, or maybe they even just live in that physical bardo at a higher level because they're so directly connected with their heart and they have no thoughts, right? Like one of the kids who was immediately sticking the coins to the wall. So one of the adults asked him, how did you do that? And he said, I just do it. Like, I don't have any thoughts about it. I'm just doing it. Right. So, and Jenn, I know you as a QHHT practitioner, when I'm doing that work, I've noticed that I have to maintain a state of samadhi in that session for myself. I cannot have my own individuated thoughts in that session because we are so entrained with one another that if I have a single thought about what I'm doing later, that's going to pull that practitioner right out immediately. And it doesn't matter if we're deep in like Akashic records or higher self. It happens. It's happened once and it's never happened again. I maintain that state of openness and the open mind, no thought state to allow for that energy to maximize its potential. So I saw in real time the kids do this and how their no thought, what they had done spread like wildfire to the larger collective, completely shattering the artificial belief system that was maintained that, oh, okay, I've seen this coin be stuck to the wall, but I've never seen a fork. And as soon as the kids did it, then the adults were doing it like that. So this is the way that those belief systems are let go of, is by seeing, because we're very visual learners. We're very visual in our understanding of this nature of reality, which is, it's a dual system, meaning there's two things going on, at least in that kind of perception, is this idea that we are working both in the physical and in the non-physical simultaneously. And as we expand our awareness to capturing both aspects, we can, then we will capture both aspects, but we have to do it once first. And this is actually in the Tibetan tradition, or actually in lots of esoteric Eastern traditions, why they have an empowerment or an abhisheka in Sanskrit. It's called an abhisheka. And basically it's an energetic template you're introducing into the group energy, so that the group or the individuals in the group can also do that thing, right? So it's an idea, it's a concept, it's how does this energy come together? And this is, why our greatest artists are in that space, in that non-physical space, and bringing back their impressions of what that non-physical space was like, and reinterpreting it into the physical using what's here, using the objects that are here. So we're doing the same thing with psychokinesis. We're doing the same thing with all of the psi abilities. We're really reimagining what it is that we want to do here.
Yeah, I really experienced that at PSI Games, with seeing people do these psi abilities. And the first time that, I was seeing everybody, then the second night, like as it was winding down, everybody was sticking quarters to the wall. And then so I started to get a little bit like, so what, does it always stick? Because it was sticking every time. So I do it and it falls. And I was like, okay, my mind needed to see that it would fall.
Yeah.
The second time I did it, then it stuck. And I was like, okay, I actually needed that extra thing from seeing it stick so many times. And then on Sunday night, we went to Dahlia's after, and I never thought about doing mind sight before. Like, I just didn't think it would be like a skill or an ability that I would have. And I was really set on bending that spoon that day, but mind sight ended up popping up. And so Dana Kipple was like, you got to try it. You're going to be able to do it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. So then Dahlia put me in the blindfold, and I was able to do colors, and I was completely blown away. And then we all start like freaking out, because this is just us hanging out at the end of the night. Everybody's exhausted. This wasn't a class or anything.
Yeah.
Then my friend Sydney ends up doing it and able to read a card. And then I pulled out my phone from across the room, and she was able to read off of my phone through the blindfold. And so like kind of what you're saying too about like, it's almost like sometimes people can transfer these abilities to the group, and then one person does it, and then it becomes like more available to everybody else. And it was like, I saw that. And in that room, people went from like trying the forks to then putting the forks on the ceiling. And I'm like, a fork on the ceiling, we cannot, like, there's no way to explain a fork on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And so interesting, like exactly what you're saying is like seeing that ripple out once you see it happen. And then like, say someone like you who has the ability to do this, there is also like a transfer of the gift in some way energetically.
Oh yeah. It's like a templating, really. And so this is, I feel like this is the way we're building a new reality for ourselves, is how are we going to template the energy onto one another in groups? Thich Nhat Hanh said that the next, when he died, he said, the next Buddha is the Sangha. So he was talking about how individuals are really, our reality is going to be built around coming together as a community. And we saw that, right? In that 1,000-person event, all of these people who walked in the door, and then we're templating onto one another our skills, talents, and abilities, and the things that we've learned, right? And what we like to share, what we can share. And we're doing that. And you might walk away from that event and think, I never want to do that again. Or you might think, oh, I really love that modality. I'm going to do that every day, right? And get better at it and watch my mind and my thoughts, if I have any, as this is coming around, because that's where the real excitement is for a long-term practitioner in these spaces is, what is new about this? What haven't I seen before? And when I came home from the games, I had put, you're just putting everything all over the wall because it's fun. and so I got home and I was noticing, like, okay, what I really want to be in the dream bardo. I really want that conscious state of consciousness here when I do this. So I put the coin on the wall and leveled up my consciousness into that transitory state, not the physical state, but the transitory state of the dream bardo, and put a coin in for when I was there. And that one stayed up from when I got home until yesterday. So that was 7 days it's been up. And I kind of felt like, because I was having an in-person Reiki student come that day, and I kind of knew that was going to cause the merging of the belief systems, or the merging of the bardos, that was going to not be on the wall anymore after that in-person student showed up. So it is like we're watching these physical, now we're experimenting in the spaces of, okay, all right, this doesn't work in this situation. What do we do differently to get it to work? Because we want to do it together, And I do for Monroe, the Monroe Institute. I'm the guest speaker for their energy medicine and courses, right? And I talk about the subtle energy body. I show people that we have the ability to capture the subtle energy, which is the chakra system. You can actually see it on film, on not using our auric photography or Kirlian photography, but just using biophotons and the biophoton captures that we can create from our phones, and using software to translate that biophoton capture into a frequency and amplitude that you can then read, right? So I do a side-by-side where you can see, this is the subtle energy body from 1,000-year-old Tibetan yogi's drawing that's used in Tibetan medicine. And look at this biophoton capture, it's exactly the same. Now, one's a plan view, meaning you're looking at the surface of the thing, versus one's an electrical diagram, right? Showing the electrical connections. But if you understand the nature of the system itself, the architecture, you can use that knowledge to actually make this a lot with groups. And at one point I was noticing the men were not bending. I would have men and women in a class, and the women tended to be able to do it like that, and the men were not. And so I started asking the men, what's going on for you in this class, that, what is happening? Like, we all should be bending. And what I understood from their conversations afterwards is that things like, they would tell people that they were going to this class and it's like the Matrix, they're going to learn how to bend spoons. And so they felt this stress and tension and restriction about showing up at work the next day without a bent spoon, right? Mm-hmm. And that boundary was created through this fear program of that we actually have to let go of our expectation of being able to do it to be able to do it. That's like a critical step that is deep programming for some people, and that I've found to be the thing that we have to work on a lot before getting them into the state of doing that work. Now, the exception is those kids, because the kids don't have a care. They don't have any expectation that and need to prove anything. So they just are in it for the fun of it. So they want to do it. There's still that motivation and that energy of momentum that they want to do it and they're excited to do it. But there isn't that where that boundary is hit, like the fear collapses that wave from it ascending and the fear pushes it back down, and then they can't let the energy flow the way it needs to flow to make that thing happen. So once I started working with the men and saying and allowing for that energy to move proactively, like actually setting a strong intention in my field that all the men would be successful, knowing that without that intention, we weren't going to be in balance. We were still going to have that class split between men and women success. And I set a strong intention from that point forward that the men are going to be equally capable of bending this, the men who come to this class. And as soon as I set that intention, that happened. That started happening. So now why? I don't really know. I don't really know why that happened. Is it that it now attracted men who already had that energy of doubt removed around this? Did the idea that I put into the field of attracting a collective that's equally balanced in their masculine and feminine, their yin and their yang, did that attract different people to my class? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know at that higher level what's the explanation for why the next class everyone was successful. And I had a majority of men in that class. So it's interesting, right? So that's like in PK practice, right? In working with the non-physical, using thoughts, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness itself, as we start to be very curious about how this works, because this is really our birthright, is to move into these spaces of understanding this energy, to move it into a new way, right? Move it into a new creation that we identify with, because we can see it going on. We know we're not the totality of it, but we know we're a contributor to it. There's a much broader perspective at play where we're understanding that our personal key joins with the universal key at some point, and there's many levels between that. And so, in the Tibetan tradition, there's no brain. Like, we don't think about brains being the engine of our experience. We think about that SEMS, that mind heart energy, being the center of our experience. And we don't think about things are coming from me. We do acknowledge that we are a mind stream, which this is talked about in so many indigenous cultures, about the consciousness of the earth, of Mother Earth being water. The consciousness of the earth is water. So, and Father Sky, right? So Father is sky and Mother is earth. And so we have her grounding, but we also have this other element of water that, when I'm traveling, when I'm astral traveling or traveling in any of the bardos, when I see consciousness itself at that high level, like primordial substrate level, which is pretty much right outside of source energy, when I see that represented, it looks like water. It looks like we're all in the ocean. It looks like everything's moving in a water expression, an expression as water or form. And that's kind of also feels like it has the feminine behind it, the yin energy behind it. So as we're working, just to sum up, I guess, as we're working in these new spaces, right? We've given up war. We're saying, no, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't really, need to battle anybody. I'm more curious about their perspective because I'm a sovereign being. I know that if their perspectives doesn't match with me, it's not going to take anything away from my experience. I might have to stand up for myself. I might have to stand in my power, but I'm not making this up. This is happening. I'm an observer of myself. I'm an observer of the divine. I'm an observer at all the levels, and I'm an equal participant in it. So it's not like it's a binary anymore where it's us versus them. It's now like this big sea of consciousness, and we're encountering one another and we're figuring it out. So now, as we encounter one another, what do we preferentially choose to do? And this is just to land it, as the somersault's going on. I'm going to say this is why the PSI Games is exciting, like places like Monroe are exciting. It's because we've already agreed on that. That's our agreement. That's our belief system. And we're saying this is the experiences going forward that we want to have. And actually, from a certain level, we're saying, thank you for those other experiences that taught me how to get here, because I'm not going to diminish them. I'm not going to see them as anything lesser. I'm just going to honor them for the experience of it itself and what it taught me. And, that's also what I love about the QHHT is that, and this Dolores's protocol, it's like, what is the lesson of that life? What is the purpose of that life? Every life that you go through and experience in those sessions, you're actually focusing at the end on the reflection, on the integration. What was that life about? I lived it. I'm feeling it. I'm crying after my, imaginary husband died, and kids. And why am I so emotional? You know what I mean? Because you only lived kind of like a life review of that life. Well, it's to learn again and remember the lesson and the purpose for that life, why it existed. So it's honoring the past, but really stepping into the future of what our potential is.
I love it. Do you have anything to add, Megan?
I've just got to say, in listening to you, my heart has been like lighting up the whole time. It struck straight here. I feel like I'm like ready to cry, and it's ridiculous, but thank you for that.
I love it. I love it. So I have questions for the two of you. So what do you think about, and maybe I'll ask Jenn first. Jenn, what do you think about the manifestation process of like how it all happens? Like, because in my tradition, we were taught very rigorously, this is how it works. Like they gave us maps, they gave us diagrams, and it's hard for me to even know, like, it's just going to work this way for me because this template has been set into me, but it obviously works for you too. And it works for Megan. What are you using as your architecture for getting it to work? Are you more like the kids where it's like, I'm just going to have fun, and like, if I see something, I want to do it?
You mean in relation to kind of life in general, like kind of the path that we're walking?
Yeah. I mean, PK is just a small, expression of what that life is. But I love that you went to the higher level, like of the life itself.
I'm such an investigator, and I spent a lot of my life like acquiring so much information. And I do think like if I have a psychic ability, it's an information ability. It's like the random stuff too, like even things I don't know anything about. All of a sudden I'm like, well, of course that city has a football team when I don't know anything about football. Like I have like a weird being able to access information very easily. So for me, it was very information based until I did ayahuasca, which then it was like all of these questions and information started to not matter as much anymore because it became embodied. And that was the first time that I would say that I experienced God, like I would consider it like a oneness experience, what I had, because it was a very neutral experience, but it was kind of like oneness, consciousness, God. They were ideas that I knew a lot about, but then when it became embodied, everything changed in my life. And then that's really when I like learned to trust. And there was just like a deep trust of kind of everything, and really released all the things around like what I think should be happening. Before that, I was very into like these new age beliefs around like awakening and ascending and a new earth and levels of spiritual evolution. And after I had that experience, I kind of was like, oh, we're all perfect. There
Yeah.
is no above, below. There is no higher, lower. We just are, and we're experiencing at different moments, and everything's perfect. Even, bringing up war, even war itself is perfect because I don't know better than creation. I don't know better than Mother Earth. I don't know better than humanity, which is millions of years old. And so that's really where there was a shift for me in the last several years, that now I'm kind of like more in surrender. But of course, I still have my moments, of wanting to will things into creation. But I really have kind of shifted to like, oh, I trust myself. I trust God, the universe, consciousness. Then I have really nothing to worry about. And as long as I can kind of get back into that energy and understand that everything's working the way it's supposed to, even if it doesn't feel good to me or it doesn't feel right to me, I can trust that it's beyond that. So really it was mental and then became embodied. And then that's when things really started to click in my life.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think Mother Aya is such an amazing teacher. She's a master teacher of, and moving us into this new level of consciousness where we can have different experiences from the past. And she's just the portal, she offers that portal into that oneness experience. Busho is what it's called in Japanese. And to be able to move into that state and come back and remember it, because we're obviously always that. We just forgot, we just forgot we were that. And when people fall back asleep, that's that thing they're forgetting, and that's great too. That's wonderful too, because we don't know what we're doing here, really. Like we're figuring that out as we're living. That's what the point of the life is. And we can become nihilistic or eternalistic, in those spaces, and our mind moves into those polarities, and the experience of one pole is just as good as an experience of the other pole. And yeah, I love that. I love that that's where you came through the portal, into that level of knowing. And Megan, how about you?
I'm actually going to borrow wisdom from social media that I saw in the last week or so. As far as like manifestation goes, I've realized that I'm living the life now that I envisioned for myself a year, 2 years ago. And a lot of that had to do with, like Jen said, just that surrender and letting go of other people's expectations of me and just being present in that moment. So, um, knowing that what I envision for my future is going to happen because I made what I wanted today happen is kind of that wisdom that came from social media. But so it's been letting go of things like leaving my corporate job earlier this year. That was huge for me in terms of energy, and partially credit it with the Monroe Institute Gateway experience last year that I did with Jen, and just being around for all of that. So yeah, I think that's really where I've been. I don't really know how to expand on that, but yeah.
Well, but that is that is beautiful. And you have like two different experiences, three different experiences, of coming into that same level of awareness, it's the path that you're on. That is the heart that knows itself is the thing that we find, right? Like the heart that knows itself is actually us, and we're finding it, and we're constantly finding it, and what that means for us. And coming out of a rigorous construct like corporate America that has very set beliefs, right? And it's creates a lot of momentum of courage to separate from that, because that what that does guarantee is an idea of safety, a safety net, and an ability to continue your living in your life as on this planet in this way with your family and friends, And it gives you that idea that this is possible. This is what happens. And it is our experience within that space, right? We don't know what's on the other side of leaving that until we leave it. And the reason that it has the power it does behind it by leaving it is that we can then trust ourselves, you know, without question, that we can build the world we want to live in. We already know this world exists because all things exist simultaneously. So, but how are we going to get together though in that building? I think that's a curiosity question. You know, how are we gonna? What's that going to look like for us? How do we come together as we liberate ourselves from that model of safety and move into an idea of there was never ground to save you, but that's okay because you can fly, right? Like it didn't matter, right?
One of my secret hopes is that we can actually like figure out the telekinesis flying bit of it eventually.
Me too. I would love to fly, right? Like let's do it. Like, yeah.
I'll go there.
You both have very open third eye brows chakras, by the way. Very open, very bright, very centered along the central channel. So in terms of how I see you, and again, like this might be a seeing from a model that was built in my identity through the years that I remember. And so this is how I see you, but it's a relative understanding of your energy as when it's joined to mine, right? So I might, you know, other people could see you completely different. How would we know, right? How would we even know? Like, you know, I could be really like a blue alien right now, and like we might not know.
Well, I don't see you as a blue alien, but that'd be cool.
You know, one thing too about like just my observation of Megan over the years and then spending time in Monroe with her is that there's also like this kind of childlike wonder and excitement that allows like manifestation to happen, because I feel like there's like this kind of like, ooh, fun, what is possible?
Yeah.
And this like pureness that allows so much to kind of unfold naturally. You know, so I think like that's one of the things that I really appreciated about spending time with you at Monroe is I was like, oh, you have just like a very like a pure and not child in being naive, child in wonder, in like enjoyment, in curiosity that just allows a lot of things. And then it's interesting too, you know, Kimla, you were saying about like having this bright-eyed, we both have this bright-eyed energy. Well, then that's also interesting, right? For you as a teacher, right? Like that is something that when you are in the role as a teacher, that's something that you also bring out of people as well, right? Because you're teaching us something that is outside of what we might have been able to do up to this point. So it does create that like big eye, open eye wonder of like, wow, this is like kid brightness, you know, because you really are teaching people things that are brand new to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of adults actually, once you start introducing these ideas, they have memories from their childhood of flying or being able to do things that they forgot they could do. And they started and trained with this, like, I don't know, this more material reality that, you know, has very defined laws and I'll just say Newtonian physics. I mean, pretty old physics now, like, or one level of physics that they can't even unify that, right? They still can't unify Newtonian physics with quantum physics, right? There's no one bridge between the two. And it feels like that heart energy is actually what's missing from the bridge to have a unified field theory of how the physical world works, our physical experience of this world. So, but the kid-like quality, Megan, I'd be interested in hearing from you. Did you maintain that through being entrained in a corporate environment that is about it's about making money for the corporation. This is in their SEC filings. All of them, by law have to make money for their shareholders if they're a public company. And so the objective and the goal of that organized entity is a very different goal than I want to live the highest and fullest life that I have, right? Those are completely different goals. And when we manifest from a place of, I want to live my highest timeline where I'm highest service and have the highest experience on behalf of the collective, what does that look like? That's the path I'm choosing to be on. Were you able to maintain that wonder-like quality and heart-centeredness that we see on your social media feed? When I watch you on Instagram, were you able to maintain that in that environment? I'm just wondering.
Yes and no, actually. So through my career, one of the biggest criticisms I got is that people didn't take me seriously because I tried to keep it fun and light. And people perceive me to be a lot younger than I am. And just part of that is being not taken seriously too. So
Right.
yes, I'm not sure how much of that is just my human body ness and my voice that comes with that versus like that's my aura. So yes, I did, and that worked against me in the corporate environment most of the time.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
And will you ladies want to start getting into the space and some stuff? Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about your forks and the things. I know you went out and collected some things you could bend. Jenn, why don't you show me what you found?
Okay, so I went to Goodwill to get some spoons, leftover spoons from people's life, and there was no spoons. So
Okay.
then I kind of ended up going to a bunch of different stores. So I got these 2 spoons that are different, but similar size.
Nice.
There was not a huge variety. So then I ended up with one of these. Really
Great.
and I'm so drawn to this one. And then, this is a spoon from our drawer. And I have another actually from our drawer too. And I told my husband, I was like, I need to go get spoons. He's like, we have spoons. I'm like, do you want me to bend our spoons? And he's like, I don't care. So then these 2 are our spoons from our drawer. So I have some like neutral ones that are brand new to me, and then 2 that are, so I have like an assortment of 5 here, and they're all different. And, that was the thing last time is I had 1 spoon that I acquired from the kids' room. Someone from the kids' room gave it to me, and they're like, oh, go find Kimla. Here's a spoon. That spoon was really thick.
Yeah.
And also I experienced the same thing that you mentioned that the men experienced, that they told people they were going to do it. And what happened is I posted about it. I got this spoon on my social media. And then later on, I was trying to do the spoon and people were trying to guide me through it. People who had just done it. So they were kind of reiterating. They were not really like, teaching that they had done it. So they were like, well, I can show you. And then they're like, well, ask the spoon if it wants to be bent. And I'm like, the spoon's saying it doesn't want to be bent, that I put too much pressure on it. So I was like, I didn't know. So when you said that made it difficult, I was like, that's actually what the message that I was getting from the spoon is I put too much pressure on it. So these spoons can bend or not bend if they would like me today.
Okay. That's perfect. That's the perfect way of engaging with them, because we start with spoons actually because when we start to move into non-physical energy, the rules still apply. We still need to have a relationship with the energy before we begin to merge with it, before we begin to engage with it, because it's a dance, right? Like you mentioned Mother Aya, that's a perfect example of this powerful being in the she has an expression in the physical, but she mostly resides, her spirit side is this powerful female and grandmother teacher, right? So when we say yes to that, right, everybody's going to have different experiences of her, right? But I'll tell you what, being in ceremony, it's funny. People don't remember their bliss states with her. They remember the suffering they experienced with her, but they're not conscious and lucid during the third quarter of the night where they're actually in states of bliss, they don't remember that. They don't remember the version of themselves that was having that blissful experience. And it's fascinating to watch people comment afterwards, like they have no idea that they went through that. And so this spoon is the physical expression. It still does have a consciousness. You're directly related to the spoon. You have an understanding of your relationship to that spoon. It wasn't stolen. You didn't take it from someone. It's yours. You have it in your house. At that physical Bardo level, the energy of integrity is still in relationship to that spoon, right? And all of this matters in subtle energy, because everything is amplified in subtle energy. It takes very little to actually move something using, when we use psychokinesis, and I'm going to show you this in a second, before we move the energy in this non-physical, we can't move that thing in the physical, right? The laws of this realm still apply. And we have to actually do it this way, move above the physical realm to actually order the information and let it go for the intention to be able to have it manifest in the physical, right? So that's one of the reasons we teach psychokinesis using spoons, because we can have a easy, non-pressured relationship with the spoon itself in terms of its willingness to work with us and how it wants to work with us, as opposed to Mother Aya, who's going to work with you. Like you're not, she has a level of power that the spoon just doesn't have. So she is going to work with you in a way that the spoon can never work with you, right? At that, both the physical and the non-physical level. So the multidimensional aspect of us can perceive that simultaneously. However, oftentimes when we're focused into the physical, we're just thinking about the physical thing. And that's fine, as long as we have the right template that we're working with. So we're going to actually try to move the energy before the physical energy, before we move the subtle energy, to get you into that right relationship with the spoon. So Megan, what did you collect? What do you have?
Okay, so I have 3 my mother-in-law picked up for me from the thrift. And then I have 2 from my drawer. And then just for kicks, I grabbed a knife.
Okay.
That was my fun one.
Yeah. So I want you to lay those things out in front of you. Okay. And I want you to pick probably the hardest one up first. So I want you to pick up the one that is the gauge, has the heaviest gauge. Yeah. Now I want you to try to move that in the physical without first doing anything in the subtle. Really try to move it and bend it. I'm going to try to do one myself. So I have but I sort of already bent, but I'm just going to try before I did anything to see if it bends. It's not bending anymore.
I don't know if the camera can see it.
And it's most important that you know you can't move it, or it would be, you're gauging kind of the physical strength it would take to move that thing ahead of time. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. This is a good spoon. I have to use all used spoon. I reuse everything, right? Because it's just, I don't want to be going out to the thrift every So, all right. So I know I can't move this just static, without setting the intention, without moving the energy, without letting go. I can't do it. So I'm going to put it down. So I want you to then go ahead and put all those out in front of you. And you can go ahead and wait to pick the one you're going to pick up first. The way that, this energy, subtle energy, I think people will resonate with this idea that we know the non-physical and the non-local aspects of ourselves when we're in space and time, when we're perceiving space and times as dimensions. We have a perception of them where we're just we know when we know, right? Like synchronicity, you can never explain it very well. When you start to talk about your synchronistic experiences, it sounds like gobbledygook because you haven't entered into evidence all of the things that lead up to why this is synchronistic, right? Because it's non-local in nature. So it's special, but it's hard to explain to others because we're now sort of engaging in that quantum level where things can change very quickly, right? And then the amount of data points we would have to collect and lay out would be too long to even care about. So this is where we let that go and start to just trust the messages, the instincts, the feelings that we're getting, the intuition that we're getting, whatever word you put to it. It might glow to you, solar glow. It might start like one of these particular things might like glow to you, right? Or another, Jenn, because you're in audio visual, right? This is, you make things people watch and listen to. You might start hearing it talk to you, like you might feel that. Or it could be cognizant where it's just a direct knowing, like I would risk my life. I can bet my life that this fork wants to bend right now, or this spoon wants to bend right now. So there's different ways of perceiving it, but it's going to be very specific to you, and it's going to just be maybe your first instinct. Ideally, we would not have any thoughts of our own in this process. We'd be sitting in a state of samadhi because thoughts, feelings, perceptions, they're all energy, and they create interference patterns in this level, right? Because everything's amplified. We want to have as clear a mind as we possibly can, right? So we're going to start to do an exercise that gets us into that space. So the first thing we're going to do is just come and rest within ourselves. And we're just going to notice. So we have these two levels of awareness that I'll point out. We have ki, which is our personal energy, where we feel like we're me. Megan feels she's Megan. I feel like I'm Kim in Kimla's body. Jenn feels like she's in Jenn's body. So we have that level of ki, right? So we're going to go ahead and now notice that. We're going to notice our own energy, what that is. And now we're going to invite in actually the higher energy to join with us. So in Reiki, Rei in Japanese is universal. It's basically just joining the light, what is above, to our personal ki. So we're inviting that in whatever way makes sense for you as a practitioner, as a spiritual being, whatever way it makes sense for you to join your own ki, your own energy, to the universal energy. That's great. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in some power. So I'm going to just do some Reiki things that will increase the power of this collective, including everyone who's watching. And I think if everyone who's watching wants to go ahead and get a spoon or a fork to work with, you can do this from where you're sitting with your own object. Just try to move it before you do the work. All right, so I'm going to add the energy to our collective here. And if you're sensitive, you might notice the upshift once I did that in a bigger energy that came in, right? So all right. And now we're going to start to work with the idea of what it is we want, our intention around that. Now that we're sitting in this pool of high, vibrant energy, we're going to start planting the seeds of what we want into that energy. And because we've already connected to the universal force, we know we're not operating out of an egoic standpoint because we're connected into the higher energy now, and we've merged our key to that Reiki, right? The universal force. So we've already created the container in which our intention is going to manifest in the perfect way. So now we're going to set our intention for manifestation by imagining these objects that we picked up. They've already given their consent, I can tell you that. So we don't have to do that work. So you're going to imagine this fork or this spoon or whatever is in front of you. You're going to start imagining it. If you're a sciencey person, you can start to imagine the molecules really heating up and moving. Some people think, oh, I really want to make you beautiful. I want you to move into a way that's going to be a teaching tool for others. You're going to be famous as a spoon. You're going to be known all on this podcast. And so now you're going to be known that you're not just a functional piece of metal. You're actually a beautiful thing that we co-created together, right? And you can have a new form and a new shape that comes from the joining of your energy to mine and the universal energy. So we're going to think about that. Whatever excites us. Some people think about, you're going to be famous, and that's fine too. Like if that jazzes you up, that's the right energy, because that's your path, right? I'm going to make this popular. I'm going to let everyone know about it. That's what being famous is. This famous spoon is going to be able to be amongst, all the other spoons, and actually the spoons might evolve. I mean, I don't know, whatever really jazzes you up, that's really what you want to fuse into this idea. And visualization is very important. You can visualize the spoon melting, just melting like those droopy clocks. Gosh, I'm really feeling the energy. It's really good. We didn't do any clearing because we didn't need any clearing. Normally I would do some clearing, but we didn't need it. So good job on whoever's watching. We're all good and square and even, unbalanced on both sides. So well done. All right. So now comes up the part that is the most difficult for Westerners. This is the letting go part, where we just have to trust. And we're going to put our spoon down. We're going to put our things down. And we're just going to relax and release any stress or tension about whether this happens or doesn't happen. There's no attachment to outcome, basically, at this point. So we just got to let that go. And then once we've done that, we're going to just start to pay attention to any signs, signals, information that comes to us that feels like the spoon wants to, or the fork or whatever it is, wants to move or bend. And you can go ahead if you feel that. Go ahead and pick it up. You can try it. You can see what that happens. It hasn't happened for me yet, so I'm not going to pick mine up. Okay, so I got mine. It just was like a feeling, right? Like a feeling that the spoon wants to bend and feels really hot. But it took a while. It wasn't like instantaneous. So you did it. Good girl. That's awesome. Amazing. What was that? Wow, that's a big one. What happened? What happened?
You know, it's so I was dreaming of twisting it, but then
Mm,
when you said, like, to release, I was like, "Okay, that's my ego wanting to twist it," and it kept
right,
showing me that it was gonna bend this way in my
right,
head.
right.
So, I was like, "Okay, I just need to bend it the way it wants to bend, not the way that I want to prove that I could twist it or something."
Right, right. Yeah. And the beauty is there will be a fork or spoon that shows up for you that will want that twist. And it might just be that one, but it's not the right time for that twist to happen, right? So you're going to magnetize in the future an experience where that twist happens, and just trusting that, because you set it up, and that's what that's what you said, that was in alignment with your thoughts and feelings. I really want that twist. And eventually one of those things is gonna show up for you. So what was there any energy? How did you know it was time?
I felt it before you did yours, and I started to get scared because then I was like, "Well, what if I can't do it?" And then I saw yours, and that was really the barrier for me was, before when I couldn't do it, I know it's possible, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once I saw it, I was like, "Okay." It wanted to, and I, like, hesitated, and
Yeah.
then I saw yours, and I was like, "Okay, it wants to. You have to do it now."
Yeah. 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 It's awesome. That's awesome. How does it feel?
I'm so excited. I'm holding in some of my containment because I know that Megan is still receiving messages from her spoon, but I wanna
And that, that's one of the things that I learned from, teaching the kids is like if someone's needing more energy sent to them, that we should be doing that for
Yes.
Megan.
Okay.
Megan's spoon, right? So we're going to just go ahead and send that energy to Megan.
It's wild because I feel the energy uptick from you guys. It's
Do
so
you?
good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hot in here right now. Like I'm burning up with the two of you on top
And
of
and Megan does Reiki as well. That was popping into my head during is that,
Yeah.
you and I do QHHT and you and Megan do Reiki, and I was like, "That's interesting, this kind of 2
Yeah.
parts of yourself."
Yeah.
I know I'm getting sweaty too from the Reiki energy.
And it's crazy because I literally can't bend the spoon again without that.
Yeah. Isn't it wild? It's just perfect time, It's hitting the wave. It's hitting that wave as it's coming up, just like a surfer. That's a really good way of thinking about it. It's like surfing the energy, surfing. You're going to hit that sweet, sweet, wave, and it's just going to be perfect, and you're going to ride it, and you're both the wave and the person, right? At that time, you're that oneness, right? It's like playing good music with someone, it's like being able to play the guitar or the banjo with another player, and like you just sync up and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And it's that energy, that we're doing, working with these physical things.
And, it's crazy. As it was leading up, I started to taste like metal. Like, I tasted a metallic feeling. I was like, "Oh my god, it's so strange." I don't usually have that type of
Bend it now. Bend it now. It's peaked. Yeah, girl. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. That's incredible.
Oh my god. Wow. So how do you know, like, obviously, you are so, like, Kimla, you're so connected, but like, how does it feel for you when you know someone else's is ready?
Oh, it feels like pregnancy. It feels like push now, push the baby out.
Oh my
No pain, no pain. All just bliss, So that's so funny, Megan. That was great. Yeah, amazing. I could feel it crescendo, Yeah. What was that like for you?
It took a little bit more than I was expecting to, but yeah, I'm like, I could feel that like crescendo in like I'm sweaty now, and like all I'm doing is sitting here, right? Like, but it's the energy, and I'm so excited. That was so cool.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say for you, Megan, one of the things I got from feeling into the energy was that you, because you're such a gentle soul, you might have to use more force than you thought, at the beginning. You might have to actually use some more physical force than you feel comfortable, expressing, right? That's just a balance that, with doing this work, that might be something that you might be surprised at how much or you could be surprised at how much force you can use, to create your manifestations, to create your life, that force. Like, it's no coincidence, girl, that I commented on one before meeting you here today. I'm a fan. So I was looking at your feed, and I think there was some like thing you had said, I've been shadow banned, or I'm a troublemaker, and I put in a comment, it's the only comment I've ever put on your thing. It said, you're the best kind of troublemaker. And there's already like over maybe like 245 like likes of that particular comment, that you're a good troublemaker. And I think that this is like that troublemaker maybe is a new kind of energy, like to play with, that you're this gentle, loving soul, and you can be, have this like troublemaker energy with your goodness, I don't know. That's
Thank you.
I love that, because that's also part of being a kid, right? Is being mischievous, playing around, seeing, like kids put
Boundaries.
everything in their mouth just to like figure it out, and like that's dangerous. They'll put like a screw or something, like.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's in you, Megan, because you brought us a knife, and I never tell people to lie. They can get cut and stuff. So it's great
It's just
that you've already stepping into that. Yeah, you're stepping into your knife wielding era.
I appreciate that.
And so, Megan, I want to ask you, when you did it, did yours feel hot? Because what was interesting is like I felt the need to do it, and then I touched where it was, and it was super hot where it bent.
I didn't physically feel it, but I like knew instinctually that it was hot. Like that felt like part of the process that had to happen for me.
I
Was just
think
like
one of your spoons wants to twirl, so just go ahead and try. It feels like somebody's spoon wants to twist around. I'm just in reading that. Megan, it might have been that one you were holding.
the knife. This
Not
one.
the knife. No, the spoon you just bent. I think it wanted to twist again.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's okay. We can sit with them a little more. Whoever's watching, we can go run through the steps again. So it's charging. So we're charging up. We're going to connect to that Reiki, or that love, that higher light, merge with that. It's good to merge with that, because then we know that our childlike wonder and our trickster energy is really for the benefit of all sentient beings, and we're connected like that. And then we visualize this melting, bending, and we're talking to the spoon or fork again, just trying to get at it, feeling into whether, seeing it as a moldy and flexible and malleable, working together. Wow. Okay. And then letting that go. There's so much power here right now. I'm actually feeling nauseous a little bit.
I felt nauseous when we first started, actually.
Yeah. That's not my tell for a lot of power in one place. Yeah. And then we just let go. So we just let it go and we kind of wait for that communication to happen, you know, that feeling. Did you do it? Okay, with your big spoon. Okay. Yeah.
This is how I envisioned before that I had to let go of my ego. Oh my God, Megan.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, I have to.
Cool. Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's great.
I'm like, and this is like how I envisioned that it was going to bend in like a spiral. Wow.
Wait, here
Now
goes this one.
Fire, Megan. Yeah. So cool.
Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
like then they become.
She got another one.
And then, yeah, you can usually when the energy is going, oh my God, it's so hot in here.
Oh
Here goes another one. Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Great. Yeah.
Holy cow. Okay.
So this is how people end up with so many. Because I see people going in and then they come out with like 5 spoons and they're like, it was getting hot in there.
It so is. Holy cow.
Oh my God. Well, this is a famous spoon, as I promised you.
I know. I've got to snap these to Instagram later.
Right. We promised these spoons that they would be famous.
Yes.
That's good. They should be famous, those spoons. Very good. Good.
Thank you.
Oh
Holy
my
cow.
God.
You guys are so hot.
I'm sweaty.
I'm so sweaty.
I'm so excited to see the comments later because I know that people are they're watching and tapping into it and doing it at home.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. It's like, yeah, please post if you like.
Yes, post and tag us. I wish that YouTube, which is where this is going to be, you could put photos in the comments, but you can't.
Okay.
But so post it on Instagram and tag us and like, because I want to see everybody's spoons. I can't believe the big one twisted. I thought it was my ego that was like, no, but it was a process. It wasn't all going to twist at once. It was going to twist like this.
It's such a good point, actually, that I've been making a lot lately, is that what we think is ego is actually just a precognitive, it's a precognitive event. Like we think we have a label of ego for it, but actually ego is just our construct of this body-mind complex that resists change. It's not bad or good. It just gives us an experience of being in the body. right? And I feel like we're moving into energy where we're finding, oh, that was actually not ego. That was, I defaulted to ego because that's what I know, but it's actually that it was a process step. There were 2 steps involved to get it to that loop-de-loop for that particular huge spoon, by the way, because of, it might take 2 steps to get that thing into the way that you had imagined, right? So it's
Right.
yeah.
And with everything, right? That's such a beautiful sentiment because, a lot of times we might be like manifesting something for our work or career or art or family. And then that's not what manifests. And you
Mhm.
feel like, oh, maybe I was like over, extending or thinking too big. But really, it is a process. And it doesn't mean that that's not eliminated. It's actually you're getting closer to it rather than wanting to just in one swoop.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you're in no danger of too much, right? You're in no danger of wanting too much, right? If it's in alignment with who you are, that's not ego. That's your true self. And just keep it true to that path that you're on. Keep doing what you're doing. There will be obstacles in the ocean of surfing your life, but you're going to fall off, and that's just necessary step for getting back on and getting that big wave, yeah.
Wow. Kimla, thank you so, so much. And I feel like so
Amazing. So cool.
Thank you.
again, me not bending the spoon at PSI Games was meant to happen in this way with us as a collective. And then you also, commenting that to Megan, and then me randomly reaching out to you and being like, hey, do you want to like do this with Megan and I? And, so it's like, it was all divinely guided too. So I feel like that's another thing with that, right? Is that sometimes it was hurting my ego that day I couldn't bend that spoon. And I really thought everybody else got to bend their spoon. But it
Yeah.
was the same reason why my quarter had to fall the first time. I had
Yeah.
to see if it would fall. That
That-
time, me not bending the spoon was because it was supposed to happen in this way, where we're going to share this with a new group of people who didn't get to go to PSI Games.
That's right. And that a lot of 2 steps, a step back that feels like a step back. You actually see that back step allowed for some space to something better to be created, right? Yeah.
Megan, I'm looking to see. You got to send me if you bend that knife later.
I'll send you a picture if I do. We'll work on it.
And yes, Megan, send me a picture of your spoon too, so that we can add them in. I'll put it on the video too, so people can actually see up close what happened with the spoons.
Yeah, absolutely. I will do that.
So I'm gonna send a little bit of energy here to a homework assignment. Okay. So this is using PK to boil water. Okay. So you would run through the same steps and boiling water without any electricity. So just set up your template, because this is a practice I already do. So you should be able to do it too, just by setting up and going through the same steps as we went through in the video, right? And then letting it go, and then not being surprised when your tea is ready, when you didn't expect it. Okay.
Thank you.
I love that. So Kimla, let us know not only where to follow you, but also anything that you have coming up that people might want to join, any classes, or I know you also do one-on-one work in Reiki, QHHT, but also if you have any group classes or how would they find that in the future if somebody later on finds this, how to find the classes you have coming up.
Yeah, I have so kimla.com, and it's kim-law.com. I post all my classes on there, and if you wanted to do individual work, you can do through that site. And I have a really cool class, a couple of things coming up that we haven't set the dates yet because it just wanted to get moved out. It felt like it was getting bigger. So Michelle Freed, I don't know if you met her. she's an amazing remote viewer. She has the super high fairy energy. And I was like, well, why don't we join forces and teach a class? I have a passion of traveling astrally into the elemental realms, mostly dragon realms, Naga realms, space dragons, and getting teachings from them and bringing my dream yoga group with me for those teachings. But like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, it's sort of taking the energy of those non-physical spaces and then being inspired to create art here in this space. So the course that Michelle and I are teaching are the process steps for how to create what we're calling intuitive art. So I have these art pieces that are found, use nature portals and talking to trees and finding found objects, which means found and offered, meaning you're walking in the world and it's offered to you when you ask. Opening up nature portals, and there is a protocol that I teach for that. And also astral traveling into these elemental realms and remote viewing into them to get inspiration. What would a water dragon want in their little habitat, and they end up coming. I just love the process of creating with the earth materials these inspirational pieces. They're not for, they're not producing revenue or income. We're not going to manufacture them. They're for us, they're for us. And they actually attract the elementals back to them if they're built in a certain way, because the energy is a good match for them to visit you. So fairy houses, dragon houses, things, dragon lairs, that's like the intuitive art that we're going to be teaching. And so I'm super excited about that one. I would just say no dates yet, but check on the website keep checking back. And so.
Oh my God, that sounds so cool. Yes, attracting the fairies.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to add, Megan? Anything that you have coming up?
Nothing major coming up at the moment. I just want to say thank you so much for this. I'm tickled beyond belief. And I'm sure most of you guys know where to find me, Solar Go Meditations, but really check out Kimla because this is really cool.
Yes, please. I mean, this was so cool. Like, honestly, I can't believe this.
Yes.
I'm tickled. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate this. And I just think this was like the perfect group for us to do this with. And I'm excited to see what everybody at home was able to bend.